Hello, welcome to this Euclid webinar. My name is François Le Goff. I'm the Euclid Product Manager here in the European Chemicals Agency. And today I will do the introduction of the presentation of version 7.10 of Euclid 6, which is the latest version we have released at the end of October 2023. As usual, during the webinar, there will be a question and answer session using Slido. You will have until 1:30 p.m. Helsinki time during the day to submit all your questions. You can keep them anonymous and we will answer during the day. You see on the right side the hashtag that you can use to join the Slido session on the web. If you don't have the opportunity to take part of this Slido session, you will be able to find all the materials of this webinar on the webinar page of the ECHA website. And we will also publish all the questions and answers that will be collected during the day. The agenda for today, I start with a short introduction to the release, highlighting the main points and giving you some background information. Then my colleague Robin Allen will focus on the performance improvements that were included in this release. Eduardo Vencesla Jimenez will present the latest Euclid features that were either introduced or updated in this Euclid release. After that, we will have some highlights about the changes to the filtering logic presented by my colleague Pania Lehtonen. And finally, Severin Sosengo will present some Helpdesk tips and also conclude this webinar. I would like to come back also to the release plan for the year. You know that earlier this year, at the end of May, we have published the latest major update of Euclid, including format changes. After that, during summer, we had a release window where where it was possible to publish optional service releases, and I will come back to this in the next slide. Today, we are presenting to you the latest version of Euclid released at the end of October, version 6, version 7.10. And you can see here that our next major update will take place at the end of April with Euclid 6 version 8, which will include format changes, as we do once a year. Let's come back to this window of service releases that we had during summer and that we used to correct known issues identified and also fixed since the version of May that introduced format changes. All these known issues that were identified in the latest version of Euclid are published on the Euclid website. You have the direct link here on this slide. And during the summer 2023, we have issued a series of patches which were addressing specific issues. So all the users impacted potentially by these issues were contacted, and we have also published these patches on the Euclid website. Once the issues are fixed, we also maintain some documentation about this on the Euclid website on the frequently asked question page. And you can find the direct link to the fixed issues here also at the bottom of the slide. I would like to also highlight one of the remaining known issues with the October version of Euclid. The second one that you see on the list here is related to the export of filtered dossiers that cannot be imported back to a Euclid installation. This is not impacting your work if you use, for example, the dissemination preview to display the dossier as it would be published by ECHA after submission of a registration dossier. And you will also have still the possibility to generate the report with the list of filtered and published fields of a Euclid dossier. What you won't be able to do is to export this dossier and import it or share it with another user. We will fix this issue as soon as possible and provide a patch to the impacted users. Coming back to the first issue on the list here, it's linked to migration of specific fields in some endpoint summaries, and you can find more details on the Euclid website under this known issue number 116. At the bottom of the slide, you can see an illustration of this issue for the endpoint summary genetic toxicity, where the information in the field's description of key information was not correctly migrated as expected inside the field itself, but went for some data types to an attachment that is stored inside the same document. We are intending to fix this issue in our next format update release in April next year. But if you already spot these issues in some datasets you are updating, you can retrieve this information from the attachments and paste it to the correct place. But if you don't want to do that, or if you do not update your dossiers, you can also wait for a global fix that will be introduced in April 2024. As I said also, if you want to know all the details about the scope of a specific release or a specific patch, you can consult the release notes published on the Euclid website. You have the link here. And we always specify to which user group the fix is intended and if the release was made public or not. For example, the latest version that we have released at the end of October this year, version 7.10, was made publicly available on the Euclid website and also deployed on the ECA Cloud instances. For some other releases or patches, we can decide if the users are not impacted, not to release the versions to everybody, and for example, to publish it only on the cloud instances hosted by ECA. Let's go back to the content of this webinar now, and I'll leave you with my colleagues to learn more about the performance improvements, the latest Euclid features, and the filtering with Robin, Eduardo, and Pania, and Severin will continue with some helpdesk tips. I wish you a good continuation of the webinar and see you next time.
Thank you, Francois. Hello, my name is Robin Allen. I'm part of the Euclid team at ECA. I'm going to describe some features that have been introduced in the new version of Euclid to improve its performance. Firstly, export has been made more efficient by excluding the use of the browser cache. For example, users may notice that the following are now faster for very large files: export to I6Z and download from a background task. Next we have extract to dataset, which is used to copy data from a dossier into a raw dataset. If the raw dataset does not already exist, it is created. The process has two parts. Part 1 is the comparison of the data in a dossier with data in a raw dataset that has the same subject as the dossier. For example, a substance. This results in a view that allows the user to select what is copied. At the foot of the view is a button labelled Extract, which starts Part 2. Part 2 is the copying of data from the dossier. This process can be time-consuming, so it is now handled as a background task, allowing the user to continue using the Euclid interface while it runs. Here we have the background task in the interface. Next, we have Euclid Drive. This is for use only where the import or export of large documents are too slow, and factors other than the file size have been excluded. It assumes that the web browser limits the speed. It works by importing and exporting files via a file system instead of the web browser. Files are shared between the Euclid user and the Euclid server, typically using a shared network folder. The folder is the Euclid Drive. Euclid Drive is not visible in the interface by default. It must be configured by a Euclid administrator, as described in the document installation and update instructions for Euclid 6 server, which is available on the Euclid website. The Euclid administrator works with the Euclid users to provide the access. Here we have some screenshots of how Euclid Drive is shown in the interface. For import and export, there are extra options here and here. For export, if the user does not already know the location of the Euclid Drive, it can be found from a link in the background task here. Finally, we have a change made for background tasks. To save space in the interface and in system storage, completed tasks are deleted automatically 10 days after completion. Here we can see the date of completion of the background task, which is used to decide when a task is deleted. By default, deletion is done daily at midnight. That ends my presentation. Thank you for watching. I now hand over to Eduardo.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Vencesla and I am a member of the Euclid team. In this presentation, I will introduce some of the new features that have been included in our latest Euclid release. ECHA receives a large amount of information from industry, which includes data on the identification of the substance, intrinsic properties, and risk management measures. While protecting the confidentiality of the data we receive, ECHA also makes the vast majority of the data available to the general public on its website. ECHA also shares data with the Commission and Member State Authority in the Euclid format. This is the data submitted to ECHA using different working contexts. Please note that ECHA is getting ready to phase out the SPC editor under the EU Biocidal Products Regulation, and the transition will start in the upcoming months. In the context of the Biocidal Product Authorization, users can start by creating the substance first and then they create a product. However, in the SPC context, users first create a product dataset and then they add a substance in the side window. To allow all the scenarios, Euclid users are now able to select an active substance from the ECHA's BPR list of active substances in entities documents, where a link to a reference substance exists. This is available, for instance, when editing a specific composition of biocide product. The BPR list is currently available in the SPC working context, such as the BPR Biocidal Product Authorization, BPR Active Substance Information, and BPR Microorganisms. When completing the rich downstream user notification of authorized users, working context, Euclid users are now able to view and to select the appropriate reference substance from ECHA's list of substances with authorized users to prepare a downstream user notification of authorized users. And similarly, users also have access to ECHA's list of authorized users to provide information under Section 2 of this working context. Lastly, to facilitate the preparation of CLP notifications, we are planning to add a link to ECHA's repository of classification and labeling information. This will be available from Section 2.1 of the substance dataset, and we plan to bring it with the next release. So if we go to a substance dataset with a CLP notification working context, you can add a GCS document using the values available in ECHA's CNL inventory that will appear in the sliding window. Over the next minutes, I will do a demo introducing the different areas in Euclid where we refer to the repositories provided by ECHA, and I will go through the following new features that have been introduced in our latest release, such as the copy data from functionality, the possibility to enter a new inventory number value, opening the validation assistant report in the new tab, a new filter of for the comparison report, and new functionalities in the list of reports. This is the Euclid dashboard. In this screen you see you first login in Euclid. I will show you now where to find ECHA's list of active substances that is used in the context of the Biocidal Product Authorization. For that, we will access the mixture and product entity list here. In this example, we have a list of mixture datasets, and I'm going to select the one on the top, my mix. So this one. This is the table of content, which is now expanded to the level of product information. And we have a composition record created in the section of family, meta, SPC, and product. Under the specific composition, we add a new item, and we click on the row. Under the common, we select a reference substance, and then we see a new sliding window appears. We can select now the substance from the list. For example, we select formaldehyde. Yet another window appears. Just we confirm the information, we save, confirm that the reference substance has been entered, and click close. We save again to ensure the record is now updated. Here it is. Now we go back to the dashboard, and we're going to see now the other two lists that we use when we completing the rich downstream user notification of authorized users. For this, we're going to access the substance entity list, and we're going to open the dataset name myDU66. When identifying the substance, we already have the opportunity to select from ECHA's list of substances with authorized uses. We select trichloroethylene from the list, confirm, yeah, this one. We confirm that everything is okay, that all the information is there, and we save. Then we also save the dataset. And now we move to section 2, where we are able to add a new use that is part of the ECHA list of authorized uses. We click here and a sliding window appears, and then we pick one of in the list that refers to the substance we selected earlier. Once we click, when we selected, the data is entered, and we save. Then we see that everything is okay, we save, and then we can go back again to the dashboard. Now we will introduce the copy from. Until now, the copy data from feature will only copy data from an entity or referent entity to the main entity target. Euclid now copies in the respective target. So now I'm going to show you how to copy the data. We select the substance. We open section 2, we go to 2.3, the composition. We click on we open the composition, then we see my mix, which is a referred entity. We use the double arrow, and we open we see that we have the same table of content for this substance. And then we go to the 3 dots menu, we click on copy data from, and then we say that we're going to use my dataset, mix dataset, for this example. Then we have this is the value that we have in this example. Usually you will have a long list. Click and unclick as you need, and then click on copy to confirm the selection. Now we can see that this record has been copied, and you see the extension in the name copy, to the referred entity. So if we go back with the double arrow, we see that the explosiveness is not included in the main entity, but it was copied in the referred one. We go now back to the dashboard to see the next example. This will be for the reference substances. We're going to see the inventory number. So until now, whenever a user wanted to edit a reference substance, you needed to enter an existing inventory number value. The value should exist in order to get a result. So now we type 1, 2, 3, and we see the type of results we have. But if we delete this one, and we enter a value that is not existing, the autocomplete will not work, and instead we will get a text indicating that no records were found. This means that doesn't exist, but if we click on this value, it gets accepted by the system. So Euclid now accepts values that are not in the list, and even values that may not be part of the usual format of the easy numbers. We save, and we see everything we can continue. So now I will explain another quick feature, a new feature. Until now, whenever the user ran the validation tool or the dataset in a dataset or dossier, the same page in the browser was used. But now, if you have a new substance or a data or dossier and you click on the validate, you will notice that a new tab has opened where we can start entering the data to go through the validation. Therefore, the validation report now opens in a new tab, and you actually can browse back to the original dataset or dossier using that arrow in the validation report. We go back to the dashboard and we see another new feature of Euclid. And I will show you now the new feature that is added to the comparison report. So we open a dataset, and then we go to the three dots menu, and we click on compare. Now we have a list of other datasets we want to compare with. In this example, I'm going to use the first one. And an HTML page is generated with the results of the comparison. We click on this file, and you can see that the file has the source and the target, which are the two datasets that we have used for the comparison. And then we have different values, identical, different, and only in target or the same content or not. So in this button, in this switch on the top, you can now see how the report is filtered, and we can see only the different and where there is a difference in one of the two, if there's only in the target or the source. But you can see that the section on the field level content differences remains always there, regardless if you're using or not the switch. So in this case, that part of the report doesn't change. And now I'm going to show you the last new feature of Euclid in this new release, which is the filter of list of reports. So we open a mixture dataset, then we go back to the three dots menu, and we click on generate report. Now you can see in the reports list we have from different types, which depends on the dossiers, datasets, substances, or mixtures. But there's a search on the top. If you enter a few characters, you will see how the list has been filtered. And if you, as you can see, I can also use another word so that you can see. If I clean it, it resets. And I can also select the type of the output format, so PDF, RTF, etc. And I can combine the type with my filter of the wording that I'm using, the characters that I'm using there. So this is a new way to select, because the number of reports in Euclid has expanded a lot as we have continued developing. This will end my presentation. Thank you very much, and I will give the floor to my colleague.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Panja Lehtonen. It is my pleasure to join this webinar. I will introduce you the filtering enhancements that the latest version of Euclid brings. I hope this will be useful and informative for you. I will start by explaining the Euclid filtering process. Filtering is called the process in which information that is not meant to be published is removed from the Euclid dossiers. Currently, the filtering process is available for REACH registration dossiers and working contexts relevant to plant protection products in the EU. The filtering process is run by a Euclid filter tool. The Euclid filter tool is programmed with filter rules, and a filter rule is applied for each Euclid field as to determine whether the field content should be published or not. The filter tool is used as the basis for the Euclid plugin dissemination preview that allows to simulate what will be published from the Euclid dossiers. ECHA uses the Euclid filter tool as the basis for its Euclid registration dossier processing in the ECHA dissemination pipeline, as to make available non-confidential dossiers on the ECHA website. As regards the Euclid filtering enhancements that the latest version of Euclid brings, I will walk you through the following. Euclid now produces meaningful names for filter dossier elements. The original document UUIDs are now kept also in a filter dossier. Filtering for each registrations apply now a dossier header defined for ECHA dissemination. The main enhancement is producing meaningful names for filtered dossier elements. Before, the filtered records used to be assigned with dummy text and random UUIDs. Now, records within each section are renamed in a meaningful way. This will enhance the user experience, having the filtered records renamed in a more understandable way. The naming conventions will also be used by ECHA in the filtering process for publication of information on the ECHA website. Considering too that sometimes record names can contain confidential text, this renaming is a precaution against publishing such sensitive information. Random new UUIDs used to be assigned to documents in a filter dossier. Now, the original document UUIDs are kept also in a filter dossier. This change will make follow-up faster and more clear. For example, if the user identifies from a filter dossier a need to modify the content, or may it be the confidentiality settings, before submitting to the authority, the user can now copy the filtered document UUID, and with the filtered document UUID, the user quickly via the Euclid dashboard search will find the original editable version of the document and can easily modify the original document to make it fit for further use. The filtered REACH registration dossiers will now apply a dossier header defined for ECHA dissemination. This is a dossier header for collecting ECHA dissemination metadata. The filter dossier headers section general information and relevant dates list the type of metadata that will be injected in the Euclid dossier in ECHA dissemination. Metadata is coming from ECHA dissemination related systems. The filtered dossier header in your local Euclid is for information purposes. Always remember to submit unfiltered dossiers to ECHA. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I will now give the floor to Severin, who will tell you about Euclid Helpdesk tips and conclusion.
Hello, my name is Severin Sosingot, the last presenter for the day, and I'm here to give you some tips when making a Helpdesk request. But first, I would like to tell you about our Helpdesk work. So far this year, we have received around 700 questions, and the topic range from upgrade and migration issues, installation issues, functionality problems, user management problems, import and export, and also performance issues, and many more. We receive questions mainly from industry and our national authorities. The help desk works together with our in-house experts, the Euclid team, and sometimes with external consultants to resolve difficult cases. We also gather most frequent questions to create our FAQ page, which you can find on our website. We constantly improve our manuals based on the questions we receive. So depending on how many questions we receive, we figure out a way to improve the manual so that we can minimize the questions we receive and also help the user in the long run. So now I'll give you some tips when contacting the ECHA Help Desk. First of all, I'd like you to pay attention to your installation folder. Please ensure that you have no old or extra files in your installation folder. It needs to be as clean as possible. You should not have any app data folders. Remember, the app data is its own unique software, and this should be installed in its own unique folder. Do not install it in the main Euclid installation folder. Please have a clear naming convention for your installation folders. Many of you have different servers. You have Euclid production, Euclid development, and Euclid tests. And most of the time you mix this up, and sometimes you end up updating the wrong environment. So it is very important to have a clear naming convention. And when you are contacting the help desk with upgrade and installation questions, please provide us with the screenshots of the error messages. This will help us analyze the issue better. Please provide us with details regarding the version, the database type, and the operating system you are using. Please, and this is very important, please also provide us with the log files. You can see FAQ 39, and it describes how and where you can get the log files from. Another tip is when you're sending functionality questions, e.g., you cannot run the validation assistant, that it's throwing an error, or you cannot create a dossier that you're having an error, or it's just not creating. We also need you to provide us screenshots of the error messages, the details regarding the actions you are performing prior to the error message, and of course the log files. And again, please see FAQ 39 on how to retrieve these log files. For the import and export and performance questions, we also need the screenshots of the error messages, the details regarding the actions you are performing prior to the error. We would need the browser logs, and that is in form of a HAR file. And we would like, if possible, that you provide us with the import file. You can see FAQ 99 on how to send confidential information to ECHA. And of course, again, please provide us with the log files. And on our website, we also provide support materials. The Euclid installation and upgrade manual is a document that contains a lot of information. It contains the installation procedure, it contains the upgrade procedure, and we have a new chapter that contains a checklist for updating the Euclid 6 server. So before you do your updates, please have a look at the checklist and ensure that everything in the checklist has been done before proceeding with the upgrade. And the manual is always updated for each release. We also have the user manual, and this contains information on Euclid functionalities. So if you don't know how to use Euclid, maybe you don't know how to create users, you don't know how to provide roles to the users, please see the Euclid user manual, because you will find all the functionalities there. And this is also updated for each release. The Euclid FAQ page contains frequently asked questions, And these are questions that we collect from our Helpdesk queries, and it is updated regularly when needed. You can contact us via the Helpdesk contact form on the website. Click on the link Contact, choose Technical Support, and depending on your Euclid version, choose the corresponding option. This is the end of the presentation part of the webinar. The Q&A will stay open until 1:30 p.m. Helsinki time. Please send us your questions in Slido using the code Euclid 2023. You can keep your questions anonymous if you wish. All Q&As will be published on the webinar page in the upcoming days. Please also follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on LinkedIn for the latest Euclid news. We will now conclude the webinar. Thank you for your attention.